in the northern kingdom of Validorn, where the wind carried the scent of pine and iron, and the mountains stood like silent judges over men's ambition, there lived a girl who was too gentle for the world she was born into. Her name was Lady Elira Vane. She had eyes the colour of thawing spring rivers and hands that preferred tending roses over holding steel. Servants whispered that even wounded birds quieted when she passed. Children followed her through gardens. Even the hounds lowered their heads in her presence. But kindness is not currency in royal courts. Her mother knew that well. Lady Maricela Vane, widow of a disgraced war general, had once tasted nobility's highest circles and been cast out when her husband lost favour with the crown. Poverty did not claim them, but obscurity did. And Maricela feared obscurity more than death. When the old king's health began to fail, the kingdom's future narrowed to a single man, Prince Alaric Thorne, heir to the throne of Validorn. Handsome, strategic, unmarried, and surrounded by daughters of ambitious houses. Maricela saw not a prince. She saw restoration. She saw power. She saw revenge. And she saw her daughter as the blade to carve it. Maricela began slowly. Kindness is a luxury, she told Elira one winter night, as snow crawled down the castle walls like pale fingers. Love is not given to the deserving, she whispered, while brushing her daughter's hair. It is taken by the prepared. Elira did not understand at first. She believed the prince would choose with his heart. Maricela knew better. The court became a battlefield long before swords were drawn. There were rivals, Lady Katrine Hollowmere, bold and laughing, whose father controlled 3 trade ports. Lady Isolde Briarwood, sharp-minded and politically adored. Lady Mavren Duskrin, rumoured to have foreign alliances, and others. Too many others. Maricela studied them the way generals studied enemy maps. And then she began her campaign. The first death was quiet, so quiet that even Elira almost believed it had not happened. Lady Katrine fell ill during a spring feast. A sudden weakness, a trembling hand, a pale face beneath jewels. Physicians said it was spoiled wine. They were wrong. Elira had poured the cup herself. Her hands had shaken so violently she nearly dropped it. Just a sleeping draught, her mother had promised, enough to frighten her, to weaken her standing. But the powder Maricela provided had been stronger than promised. Katrine never woke. Elira did not attend the funeral. She locked herself in her chamber and scrubbed her hands until her skin burned. Maricela did not comfort her. She only said, "One less obstacle." The second was not poison. Poison had risk. Whispers had begun. Lady Isolde was clever. Too clever. She began questioning the coincidence of Katrine's death. So Maricela adjusted tactics. Night carries secrets better than goblets. On a moonless evening, Elira followed Isolde through the castle's lower cloisters. She wore black. Her breath echoed too loudly in her ears. Her mother's voice echoed louder. Do you want to return to nothing? Do you want to live unseen? Do you want your sister to marry well while you fade? The blade in her hand felt foreign. Isolde never saw her clearly. There was a struggle, a sharp gasp, a cry cut short, the sound of a body against stone. No gore, no spectacle, just silence afterward. Elira stood trembling in the dark, realizing something inside her had fractured beyond repair. When guards found Isolde at dawn, the court whispered of assassins, political enemies, foreign spies. No one suspected the girl who prayed the loudest in chapel. Each act became easier. That terrified her most. Mavren's carriage axle failed on a narrow mountain road. A noble heiress fell from a balcony after losing her balance. A betrothal contract vanished, replaced by scandalous forged letters. Some deaths were direct, others were engineered, all were directed by Maricela. Illyra became an instrument sharpened by maternal ambition. The prince began noticing her, her quiet mourning, her apparent innocence amidst tragedy, her steady presence as others disappeared. Grief suited her. It made her seem deep, mysterious, strong. Prince Alaric began walking beside her in gardens. He admired her composure, her serenity, the way she never spoke ill of the deceased. If only he knew. But something else began to grow in the shadows. Guilt. Illyra dreamed of the faces, of pale hands reaching for her in dark corridors, of whispers beneath her bed. She began lighting candles for each girl she had destroyed. Her chamber glowed nightly like a vigil for ghosts. Maricela called it weakness. "Illyra," she said one storm-heavy evening, gripping her daughter's jaw with iron fingers, "queens are not remembered for softness." Illyra did not respond, because she feared if she opened her mouth, confession would spill out like blood from a wound. Then came the final rival, Lady Seraphine Morcan. Not loud, not obvious, but beloved. Seraphine was not political. She was kind, truly kind, and that made her dangerous. The prince smiled differently around her. Maricela saw it. Illyra saw it too. For the first time, jealousy, real jealousy, replaced obedience. This time, Maricela did not need to instruct. Illyra acted on her own, and that frightened her mother more than anything. Seraphine drowned at dawn, a walk by the river, a conversation that turned tense, a push, a slip, water swallowing secrets. Illyra watched the ripples fade. No witnesses, no screams survived the river's current. When she returned to the castle, she expected triumph, relief, victory. Instead, she felt hollow. She had done everything, every rival, every threat, gone. The court grew quiet. The prince withdrew for weeks in mourning, and Illyra waited for proposal, for crown, for her mother's promised restoration. But fate is not a contract one can sign in blood, and ambition does not guarantee reward. On the first day of autumn, Prince Alaric summoned the court. Illyra stood beside her mother, hands steady, heart racing, certain this was the moment. The prince spoke of loss, of tragedy, of how the kingdom needed renewal. Then he announced his bride, not Lady Illyra Vane, but Lady Lysandra Vane, Illyra's younger sister, newly 20, bright, untouched by scandal, unaffected by death. The court applauded. Maricela froze. Illyra did not breathe. The prince smiled gently at Lysandra, who looked stunned, radiant, and entirely unaware of the blood that paved her path. Illyra realized then the cruelest truth. She had never been the chosen one. She had been the shield, the distraction, the quiet storm that cleared the sky for someone else, her sister, her own sister. As applause thundered through the throne hall, Illyra felt something inside her finally shatter completely. Not innocence, that had died long ago, but purpose. And when purpose dies, what remains can be far more dangerous.